Yes, we'll be back from the break. It's exactly 5 minutes. That is past 9. This is What Means Business, your daily Kickstarter. I'm Angie Bariji, and here with Masi Katsue. How are you doing this Monday morning? And hope you are really delighted getting ready to see how best you can actually shine up for the week. You know, you're thinking of how can I invest my money? You know, that is the biggest question majority of the people have in Uganda. You know, money is
eating you.
Money is itching you. And you know, there is nothing worse than being broke and you have investment ideas. That is the worst thing, by the way. The times you broke, that's the time when you have, that's when somebody tells you, by the way, there is this business. And you really, you dissect the business together and you realize it's actually selling out, but you don't have the money. But now you have the money, you're working, probably you're earning a salary, but you don't have you have no idea. Probably you've gotten so comfortable there. But anyway, I have an option here for you. This is Zabu. Yes, you can invest in government bonds and securities and be able to, you know, earn an income for you. And for as little as just 15,000 Ugandan shillings. I don't think there is any person that in Uganda that earns less than that. I mean, that can't afford 15,000 Ugandan shillings at least to invest. Regardless of whether you earn 100K a month, you can still get a 15,000 and choose to invest it. You know, this is planting the seed. Don't eat the seed. Plant the seed. Sow the seed rather. Now the markets, as I speak right now, they're already on. They open at 8:15 and they run all the way to 3:15 p.m. That is East African time. This is effective Monday up to Friday. Apart from the weekends and the public holidays when those markets are not accessed, but at least you have the rest of the days to make money. And that's why Zabu is here to tell you it's my money, it's my future. And Altex East Africa also comes out and compliments it by saying that you need to do something new for yourself. Remember, it is 2023. Yes, now heading back into our discussion, I see something where somebody said that actually with the current rains that are happening, it's not just about having a car, but it matters what kind of car you have.
Definitely. We know the cars that we have actually in Uganda for, most people don't have four-wheel cars. Four-wheel cars, they have RPGs and all that. So not just if you see, was it a Pajero, or was it a big car was swept away? You can just imagine if you're driving a Corolla or
but even regardless, even the buses can be swept away. With these kinds of floods, any car.
If they can actually
if they can put down buildings, then how much more of a car?
But you see, another thing I saw that we have in Uganda, the problem actually, I think we also, I'm also a victim of it. There's a building that we had, we built in a swampy area. So every time it used to rain, it would flood. It would flood. And that's the thing that is happening. So if you build within those places, when calamity comes, automatically you're the first people because there is water already. So it's going to flood. And the other thing is the infrastructure, the buildings. We do not have a plan for people build. Wow, you see, the house is very low. It's supposed to be raised. It's supposed to be raised. So we also have to look into that. And the potholes.
The potholes.
Very many. Very many potholes. It's devastating.
Very devastating indeed. Now, of course, with our discussion here, we have Honorable Abubakar Kawalia, that is a Member of Parliament, Rubaga North. Now, for Hashi, according to his observation, a physical development plan has actually not been yet implemented this year, you know, as proposed by the budget. And of course, he said that the recent floods have caused loss of life and the properties, and investors are building in swampy areas. Investors are building in swampy areas.
I told you.
This is the concerns he's actually passing out. And he says that Kampala City Council Authority has not done its role in the city when it comes to regulating, knowing. I mean, in other words, it's trying to say that the city lacks plan, stable plan.
My issue is, how can you have a septic open? How can it be open? You know, people pass there every day. You don't know when it's on a normal day. You can look at it and pass by it. So imagine it's raining. You do not know. You know, you just slip and then you're gone.
You're gone.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So.
Now we talked about issues here of the drainage systems which have not been worked on, of course, due to lack of sufficient funds to put them together, and Kampala members of parliament are actually giving government an ultimatum of just 2 weeks to work on the roads. Well, how fast can that really be done? Because we've seen that most of what they call repairing these roads is just filling in the potholes, of which the material that is used to fill is temporal.
Yeah, it's temporal. You can imagine, I've seen the field along Makere Road with there's Apollo, but then I'm seeing it's already getting damaged. They're just, it's like having something is broken, you're trying to patch it up, but then maybe using a certain glue, like maybe paper glue instead of using the actual glue that sticks. So we have to use the real glue that sticks to or we could damage them all and start afresh. Sometimes it's just starting afresh from the ground zero. Actually,
let's first get into this discussion. I'll come back and address you that aspect of damaging. See how developed countries actually put up roads, and the road can be done in one day. And in the evening, the cars are using that. But anyway, let's get into this discussion with Honorable Becca Kalia, and of course, we shall be returning back to, to give in further insights regarding this.
As we are all aware that in this rainy season, Kampala is experiencing the problem of floods that have led to loss of lives and properties. Most of the residents of Kampala, most especially those ones who reside in the lowlands within the city. There are certain blames that have been put to members of parliament, but who would want to clear this, that the duty of the MPs is to make budget appropriations such that local governments can implement the programs that are being passed by Parliament. Recently, 2 days ago, Kampala experienced heavy rains, and we saw most of the people being affected. For example, boda bodas, cyclists. We saw the guy who was driving along Entebbe Road drowning. And we have a lot of cases in other suburb areas, in areas of Luzira, Salama Road, even in Ruaga areas where an Indian constructed a property on the channel. We want to put a blame all these challenges to this government through its entities like KCCA, because we are all aware that there is a physical development plan that has not been implemented by KCCA. KCCA does the role of approving building plans. Sometimes we wonder, when we move to most of the wetlands, we have seen foreigners, most especially Chinese and Indians, who have acquired development applications from KCCA. A case in point, the Indian who constructed apartments in areas of Lusaze has a plan from KCCA. And indeed, he constructed on top of the channel. And this affects the flow of water, most especially when it rains. Secondly, Parliament passes money for desilting. Parliament passes money for construction of wider drainage channels, and Parliament passes money for construction of city roads. But as we are talking right now, in the current budget, Parliament approved lots of money. When we talk about the road fund, Parliament had passed 60 billion. But our notice, when it came to allocation, instead of 60 billion, Kampala was allocated only 10 billion. To the government of Uganda, as Parliament, most especially the Office of the Leader of Opposition, we passed an alternative budget requesting for a minimum of 2 trillion as a budget of Kampala. But our dissatisfaction, it is only 33 billion that was allocated. And on this 33, as we are speaking right now, we are closing the first quarter of the current financial year, but Kampala has not received anything as far as construction of roads and drainages is concerned. So we call upon this government to wake up. Let us do our work. Let the executive put the Minister of Finance to task that Kampala is the capital of this country. Indeed, the people of Kampala need to be served better because they are the highest payers of tax. So, as members who represent the people of Kampala, we shall not sit back and see all these challenges. We are giving them an ultimatum of a maximum of 2 weeks to work on most of the challenges that have affected our people, most especially when it comes to flooding. We all know what causes flooding. The status, the quality of the drainage channels that we have is in bad state. When you look at the road network that we have in the city, we have been promised lots and lots. The main challenge of the road network is not human capital. We have engineers that are well paid in the cases here. Contractors are there who are ready to perform their duties just in case if resources are being provided. But our concern is, why has government failed to provide funds when it comes to construction of roads and drainages in the city? So we have decided to come out clearly with my colleagues, Honorable Alan Sewanyana, Honorable Balimwezo from Nakawa, and Honorable Nyeko Derrick, and others who have not managed to be here. We are giving government an ultimatum, and this time round we shall not have any excuse, because we have had a lot of reports being tabled on the floor of Parliament, and we have been getting reports on how funds are going to be provided when it comes to sorting out the challenges that we have that have led to the loss of lives of the people of Kampala and their properties.
Well, talking about construction of roads, when I'm coming, I normally pass where there is a route called Masanafu, away from the northern bypass, and you go in there. And now that route heads you up to Namirembe Road, and it connects up to Mengo. But you see, the road is under construction as we speak right now, and it was blocked. But surprisingly, it was blocked for the first month, but nothing was going on. And everybody was wondering, what is this? Now, it's quite absurd that the businesses that are in between that lane, because if it's blocked from here up to there, the people that are in between, when you pass by in the night, it's dark. What does it mean? Nothing, no business that is going on. Because it's really worrying that even when the time for construction starts in, it takes long, 2 years, 3 years constructing just something very small. And you just have no idea what those people are actually going through right now. You know, when it comes to, even when it comes to delays in the morning hours, I normally see people, now they have to wait for the taxis up here, to take them. And you find that they are so crowded, because unlike before when they were spread on the streets, each here, each on their stage, but now they have to gather on one stage, congestion and all that perspective. And that hinders, in case now you're going to execute a business deal from that perspective. Because somebody is, I'm trying to ask myself, why close a road for 1 full month and nothing is going on? What are you doing there, really? People are not doing business on that road any longer, most especially that. I think majority now closed. They have to find ways, because they can't wait for a year for the road to get done.
And of course there are no alternatives, like maybe Larry or maybe someone could choose to use a train. Yeah. Automatically you have to use a border, which is the fastest means, because for them they can maneuver and use shortcuts and all that. But then you see, that's the problem with the Ugandans. We take our time, and of course even when we have other construction companies come set into place, they're also kind of delayed with the workers, because they employ Ugandans. Some will be like, today I'm not coming, I'm not working.
Absolutely.
And you find that the workforce is very, 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 very few people.
Okay.
I think that is why most of those developed countries, and you look at China, remember how long it took for them to build up a facility in COVID-19? How many days was it? 2 days? Just 2 days.
A few days.
And it was a few days and it was done. If it was Uganda, take 6 months.
Okay, now still on that note, we see that opposition members of parliament don't agree with giving Army the role of constructing roads, that is in Kampala. And we see a report that they want the president to work on the issues of Kampala, especially infrastructure, and give the technocrats funds to work on this? Why give the army? Get their technocrats that can actually handle this. And of course, he also says that they should empower Kampala City Council Authority to perform its role. Why enter into the role that is supposed to be performed by that? Now, this is Honorable Onyeko Derek. He's a shadow minister for presidency and security, and also a member of parliament, Machindia East. Let's get into this discussion real quick, and we'll be returning to wrap it up and head into the break.
That Kampala has been left in such a position deliberately, with intention of General Museveni to allocate resources for his son through infrastructure and allocation of monies to roads in Kampala. On the 10th, General Museveni at Kololo came out clearly and addressed the nation on how he thinks he's going to manage this infrastructure, the roads and the floods that we are experiencing today by allocating funds to his son. General Museveni was clear, and he said the SFC, which is under him, that is made to protect him, is giving a directive to KCCA so that they can be allocated finances and contracts to be in charge of backfilling potholes. And it is a shame. It is a shame that this is a deliberate move, first of all, to make sure that the companies that are being contracted do not stand. It is a shame that General Museveni has reached this extent of emptying Kampala City Council Authority with the directors as nothing doers. So since General Museveni has decided to have a coup on Kampala as well, a structure that is running Kampala that would be in position to be empowered to address these issues, he has been denying Kampala as an authority finances to address the infrastructure issues. But as well, we saw him on that day bragging how he's a general who went to the bush and fought, and no one will be in position to shake him because they are addressing issues. The public has become so much aware of what is going on. We want General Museveni to brag on infrastructure. We want General Museveni to brag on the roads. We want General Museveni to brag on the issues of Kampala, not to address us lamenting of how they overcame the war 40 years back. We have challenges we are facing as a nation. As parliament, we are allocating funds, and it is deliberately being misallocated, and now they are coming up with new tricks of how to finance their family members and friends. We all know that SFC has family members and friends, and today you want to get the infrastructure of the city instead of giving it to the technocrats in Kampala, denying them money. Several companies were given an opportunity to bid on how much they can afford to repair the road of Kampala. It is surprising that General Museveni, you have the guts, even after KCC, examining and finding out which one has low costs, requesting for better infrastructure. We are requesting for an economy that can compete. We are requesting to see that Kampala and the poor people that cannot afford cars, their children can travel to schools when it rains. All we want is a government that is responsible for its people, that can empower institutions like KCC to perform their role. All we want is an accountability. But what we are not going to accept as members of parliament from Kampala is to see SFC, now that it has been a deliberate move, to make sure that you frustrate KCCA by denying them funds, see that those that are occupying land in the swampy areas, for example, in my constituency, just as you're heading to Soya, you will find out that they have constructed a huge building, supermarket, at the expense of the poor people who are living on the other side. Now they are suffering of floods because KCCA and probably somebody who is closer to the first family wants the land and wants to construct. So it is a deliberate move for the state of Kampala to look like this. When you go up upcountry, you will find out that some of the roads have been constructed. And you find out here in Kampala, with a huge taxpayers base, our roads have failed to be constructed. There is a question, and it could be deliberately, according to our statistics.
Of course, that is Honorable Nyeko Derek. He attributes the state of infrastructure to governance and leadership within there. Now, Uganda receives a significant amount of aid, that is for road repair, if you're to look at every year. Now, in 2022 alone, the country received over $200 million in aid for this purpose from a variety of donors, including the World Bank, which of course decided to halt the donations. And there is also the African Development Bank, the European Union, and the United States government. But the Japanese government, in particular, is a major donor of aid when it comes to road construction. Now, in 2022, $100 million in aid that is for this purpose was given out from the government of Japan. Now, this funding is used to support a variety of road repairs projects, including rehabilitation of existing roads, the construction of new bridges, and the improvement of road safety. Yes, Nyeko Derek said something. When you go to upcountry, the roads are actually constructed. You go to Soroti, Mbale. I've been to Mbarara. I don't travel a lot, but at least I traveled there. That is in 2019, and I was amazed that even the road that takes me up to, you see where I branch off to head to my grandmother's place, it's tarmacked.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about a Maram Road that side, and the only Maram Road is walkable up to home. And I'm like, okay. But Central Kampala City Center, which contributes the biggest percentage when it comes to the taxes that are collected on an annual basis. That is something which Honorable Muhammad Isaroko mentioned. Kampala gives out big, but it doesn't return. But what is returned to it is not sufficient. Now that brings us to a question. As the Member of Parliament was winding up, is the state of infrastructure in Kampala City a deliberate effort by those in governance to leave it that way? What do you think? Hit us up on Twitter as we have that, because it doesn't make sense. Like he said, upcountry roads are constructed, but the city center, why the capital city? Is it deliberate? Or there is something bigger for Kampala? That's also another way. Well, let's get into this break now, and of course we shall be returning with of course still matters to do with road construction, of course relating them to the disasters and the road networks and the drainage systems in Kampala. Stick around.